Welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast, where we experience life being the real you. Also, we believe that you weren't just born to exist, you were born to produce on purpose, with purpose, and through purpose. I'm your host, Randy Adkins Jr., author, teacher, speaker, and lifelong
And
learner.
I am your resident guest, Dr. Sherlonda Adkins, also known as the Unstuck Strategist, a national board certified physician assistant, mental health expert, and entrepreneur.
This episode's going to be a good one. We are going to dive into a particular place where we talk about being anchored in the moment and that we can do that while we're navigating life's transitions.
Yes, and this is a good one because let's be real, when life shifts, sometimes our first instinct is to either cling to the past or spring forward into the future. But what if the true power is to actually navigate a transition, staying right here, like in the present, in the now?
So it's kind of like, people always try to tell us to stay in the moment, but you know how sometimes we go and we eat and you like to eat that dessert
I do.
first.
Most of the time we go to the restaurants, I'm like, can I see your dessert menu just so I can see what I have to look forward to? And if it looks really good, well, I don't know how many times I've actually done it, but hey, I will eat the dessert first.
That's
But
what I'm talking about. That's talking about living in the moment, in the present, right now. So it's just like the scripture in Matthew 6:34, where it talks about do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself.
itself, yes.
Actually, I'm reminded of this video that we see sometimes, and the little girl is sitting in the back and her parents are talking, and she just says, worry about yourself. Maybe that's what tomorrow should do. It should worry about itself, and each day has enough trouble of its own. That's Matthew 6:34. So the invitation is clear, coming from Jesus. He's telling us, don't live in tomorrow, but live in today. So we're going to move right into talking about reconciling the vision and what is. So let me ask you this question, babe. So, have you ever had a vision for your life that you didn't quite match up with what you had unfolding in your reality?
Yeah, I can talk about this in real time. And actually, this entire episode, I can share my journey in real times. I always, well, not always, but probably in the last recent years, thought about once we reach empty nesting, that I would probably not even be home. Like I would be all over the place, either slow traveling, jet setting, because that's my norm anyway. So I figured then once we don't have any children in the house, there's really no limitations. And so I don't know, maybe I'll be in New Zealand for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'll go to, I don't know, some island, another island, because New Zealand is an island, then come back home, recharge, and go back out. And that was something that I envisioned, and it was very exciting to think about. And now I have that opportunity to do that, but it's not unfolding that way. Not because I can't, but I just don't have that desire at the moment. So I've been sitting with this. So I'm really glad we're talking about this topic in this episode today.
Yeah, sometimes I do believe, even as we've been kind of going through life, that we sometimes desire particular things at different times that we may not have known what was going to happen, how it was going to occur. And then we end up in the moment and it's just a little different. And so that's what we're talking about now when we talk about navigating our transitions, navigating where we are, and trying to be in the present moment and see potentially where are you being led at this moment and what's happening. So what's the feeling that you're currently having and that you're looking at as we are transitioning? A couple of weeks ago we had our daughter, and what a wonderful time of putting and moving her into rice, and so now we're here.
Yes.
It's a transition, a place where we are. And
Well, first of all, for anybody who's going through any type of transition, I encourage you to check in with yourself often. And when I say check in with yourself often, think about how you are feeling, and not just feeling in your head, but how are you feeling in your body? Does your body feel lighter? For me, I feel lighter. I feel like there's a just a clean slate in front of me. I call it like adulthood 2.0. So it's like the energy and the fervor of when I went to college. I remember how I felt when I left home and the world is my oyster. So it's that again, it's almost like living with more wisdom and having the opportunity to do anything. Like there are no boundaries. And so checking in with myself, there's freedom, there's optimism, there's hope. And I'm leaning into this feeling of peace. Again, like I said, I was putting together some trips and I can do this and do that. And it just didn't feel peaceful. And so I wanted to almost like just keep pushing that, like fitting it. You remember that toy when the kids were small and it was a box?
Yes.
It was a box and then it had like different shapes. And then you could put the shapes. It was teaching the kids how to do the shapes. So it was almost like trying to put the triangle inside the square hole. Like it just didn't fit. So I was checking it with myself and I said, wait a minute, why am I pushing this? Like, why don't I just let it go and check in and see what that feels like? And I realized I felt peace. And then some other things started to emerge that sort of align with this freedom. So that's the first thing I would recommend is just check in with how you're feeling because your feelings are indicators. And I believe they will help you center with that compass that's inside you that's internal.
Yeah, I like to think of it as we are in these spaces in our lives and we are sometimes doing an audit of what's going on, whether it's our body, soul, or within our spirit. We have to be able to kind of do an audit of what's going on. How do I feel? I remember hearing sometimes, what do you do while you're in the shower? Do you just think of other things, or are you actually in the moment of feeling the warmth of the water that's hitting you? Do you feel how the water is touching your body? Where is your body feeling warmth or coldness or different things like that? And trying to understand all of those modalities and just being aware of where you are at a particular moment. And I believe that that can be so beneficial in what we do, and
Mhm.
especially as we're aligning and realigning in our lives of what does this reality what is it really telling us, because our bodies are always giving us feedback, our mind is always also giving us feedback. So you're
Right.
having thousands of thoughts every single day. And what does that look like? I like to call it a reality audit. It's an audit of our lives and what's going on. I wrote about that in the book of Producer on Purpose when we talk about being connected to the body, being connected to our soul, and being connected to our spirit, that we should be able to start to get that feeling of what is it that's going on at this moment. And we might be in a particular gap at the moment in the transition, and it's between that what was and what is coming.
Liminal spaces is what I like to refer to them
And
as.
we talked about that on the last episode. And so we don't judge the gap. We just know that God is probably inviting us to grow in some particular way. And so this is an exciting time. And in fact, as we were just trying to get this podcast going, it's kind of like a Wi Fi signal. You know, a Wi Fi sometimes is weak and
Mhm.
sometimes it's strong. We had a weak signal. I had
We
to
did.
go and take that modem and update it, and I even lost connection for a moment, but we can reconnect with who we really are and what we're really about.
And that's how it is with our mindset, as well. Sometimes we have to go and reset our mindset, which is a process. It's not something you do and then you wake up the next morning and it's reset, but it's a process, an ever going process. And one of the questions that people struggle with sometimes is why do I tend to worry about the future rather than being able to rest in the present? And we have practices like yoga, there's meditation, there's all of these different things that try to direct us to stay in the present moment instead of worrying about the future. And again, coming back to where I am at this moment, once I put down the the travel apps and just said, okay, what's around me? Oh my God, I have been having a ball. Like, let me tell you guys what I have been doing.
Oh, 30 for 30 challenge?
Well, no, that's not part of why I'm having a ball. But what I realized is I have time. I have an abundance of time. And this is a gift. So we're talking about being in the present, and my present is giving me a present. a gift, and it's being able to explore things with a different level of awareness. And honestly, when I look outside, the sky looks bluer, the trees look greener, things just look prettier. We have lots of bridges here in Charleston where we live, so crossing the bridge and seeing different scenery, because we can go from, different parts of town. We blessed to have that ability to go to a different part of town and get a completely different landscape. But our older children told me about this exercise, where I guess I'll give them a shout out, Class Pass. And so my son had me to sign up for a trial. And what it does is it allows you to go to different gyms or studios. I have tried Pilates, I have tried bar, and I've gone to different gyms, and having a wonderful time. And so it's helping me reconnect to my body. And a lot of these classes, when I finish, I'm filled with so much gratitude of, wow, thank you to my body for, doing these things and performing this way. And it's making me stronger, not just physically, but also mentally, and preparing for, I want to be here for many decades to come, but preparing my body to be able to host me, to host my soul for the years and the decades to come. And so just having the ability to live an easy life and a slow life. So exercising, not because I feel like I have to do it, but because I want to, enjoying meeting people and enjoying our mortgage. And what I mean by that, most of us have a mortgage and we pay our mortgage every month, but we're always so busy doing stuff outside of the house that we're paying on. So I've been enjoying our home in different spaces, buying some new scents and candles, taking longer showers, enjoying the scents of different shower oils. And so, yeah, so basically what I'm saying is when I stopped trying to force or push that vision, what I thought that I would be doing at this moment, and just leaned into what felt peaceful, it truly is a gift. People talk about like the soft life, like I'm living a very soft life, and it is a gift.
It's a blessing to have the feedback and to, at the moment, be in the space where you can understand what the body is doing. And we're not so busy that we have to wake up early in the morning and take the children to school and having to have our calendars. At one point, we had our calendar to where we had so many different things and we would have to tag team on that. And we get to focus now on ourselves, and being in the present moment helps to guide and also provides a listening ear to what is God actually saying at this moment? What is he sharing with us? What's the feedback from not only our bodies, the feedback in our mental state, the feedback in our spirit to say, how are we to move forward? And so it's been phenomenal to watch you go to all the different classes, and I've been able to go to the gym on a consistent basis without having to have any interruptions. And so having the body in a good state provides us good feedback to where we can live that life and live in the present moment and hear from God and hear different things from God. And it's amazing how he shows up. He's been showing up in all kinds of ways. And it's not that we are pursuing anything, it's just that everything that is aligning with who we are begins to show up, whether it's in ministry. I've had things at work. I've had people come to me from different areas and they're just asking to utilize the gifting that I currently have. And I'm not having to pursue any of it. It's just coming this way, being in this present moment. And that's been phenomenal. And watching that continue to occur. So
Mm.
this has been fun. It's been actually been an enjoyable time. And I know that between the old season ending and
Mhm.
where we have been and the transition of the children now being adults and this new one beginning, nothing is wasted. No
Mhm.
wasted space. It's a sacred place.
Yes.
I like it because we get to be in this sacred space with God, and it's void before the next creation. There's new coming. Everything new. I've been listening to that song like for the past couple of
Everything new,
months.
new,
Yeah.
everything new,
Everything is
new,
new.
new.
So we are no longer in a space of just having just emptiness, but there's new and there's clarity that will come with that from God.
And I also say living in the present moment increases your capacity to, like you say, hear from God, and it increases your capacity to give out. It's when you talk about utilizing your gifts become sharper. Your discernment is also, heightened as well. So as I'm living in this present moment and enjoying this simple life, what I consider a simple life is that hard, easy life, this gift, I'm also still operating in my purpose and my gift. Cause that's one of the things I was like, okay, I love being able to just relax and do my own thing, but I also want to make sure that I'm still giving out. Like I want to help other people because, especially in our climate now, there's so much going on, and people are having a really difficult time, in many different ways. And so I don't want to just be like, oh, over here, just sitting in my life at ease. But it has not been that at all. In fact, what it has allowed me to do is to have more bandwidth and have more space to give of myself, whether of myself or pointing people in a direction for help. And I've been able to do that more and in a stronger capacity as well. So I'm really grateful. It really does work, like leaning into peace of the present and then watching how it's still, the manifestation of purpose explode.
It's really is, and the idea of God's presence in the present is just phenomenal. And when I think about it, I think of, are there ways that we can sit and we can trust God in today without rushing into tomorrow or trying to think about what occurred in the past? And I would love to be able to provide practical steps to anyone that is listening, because I believe those practical steps and techniques and tools that we end up having every day helps us to sometimes ground ourselves, get that greater clarity and focus in who we are. And I believe in greater impact versus just doing a lot of different things.
Right.
I've now equated it to that it's not so much about more effort that you end up with, but you end up with more energy. And so the more energy you have, the greater impact you will have with anyone that you're dealing with. And trusting God to give you that and provide that for you is just phenomenal. So what's a practice that someone can utilize in trying to be in the now and being able to focus and see what's going on in now?
So, a practical tip I would say is check in with how you are feeling and writing those words down. I don't have it in front of me right now, but the feelings wheel, you can Google that feelings wheel or emotions wheel. I have the pillow and I use it. I was actually using it this week and checking in, saying, okay, how do I feel? And write those words down, whether you want to write it with pen and paper or if you want. I love talk texting too, because sometimes I'm walking around the house or maybe I'm out in public and something comes to mind and I want to document it. And so having that there because it helps provide clarity on how you're feeling. So often people will say, "Well, I don't know, I was feeling some kind of way," or I don't know, I didn't feel too good or I felt great," but get more descriptive on how you're feeling at the moment.
And as you're being that descriptive and you're going through that, journaling is just phenomenal because then you can reflect on what is happening and what's going on. I like to say this. I called the future and I put it on hold because when the future called me, I said, "Hey, I'm busy living in the now."
I
So
love that.
we get to live in the now. And so we're going to talk about some more techniques about how to be anchored and what we should do. You had shared with me earlier that there's a place where we sometimes need to compare and contrast
Mhm.
how we may have had a thought or a vision and then where we are now. What are some key elements there that we can take a look at?
So, to make sure that we're not locking ourselves into a position that doesn't allow for growth, I believe that writing down what you envision for your future and then writing down where you are now and comparing that, sometimes it'll tell us, okay, this is the gap, this is the area for growth. And sometimes it will reveal to us, like, wow, that is no longer my desire. And that is okay because as we grow, our desires shift and we have to redefine what success looks like to us. And so I love working with people and seeing the light bulbs go off because they'll say, I had this dream ever since I was a little girl. I wanted to be this or I wanted to go here. And sometimes we get so loyal and committed to that dream, but that dream no longer serves us.
I
So much has changed about who we are, the people we're around, and even our society. Has changed. So it's okay to let that go. And maybe it's difficult. We can give it a grieving process. We can have a ceremony for it if we need to. No, seriously, we can, let it go. We can cut the cord so that we can be free to be all that God wants us to be in this present time. So this next practical tip is writing down what it was, what that vision was, writing down where you are now and reconciling, meaning like bringing it together. What are the things that we want to keep? And what are the things that we're okay with letting go?
yeah.
And what are the areas that we still want to strive to accomplish that dream if it still fits within this life that we're living?
And that's an invitation for grace to continue to abound in our lives. And you had talked about earlier identifying the emotions. And so when we have fear or frustration come up, asking ourselves, why are we feeling that way? What is really going on? And not to push it away or try to silence it. Because sometimes what we can do in those moments is silence that fear, silence that feeling that's not really feeling good or sadness or pain that we may have, but actually just playing it out. Let it play out. And what I have found is that when you let it play out, it only plays out for a few minutes unless you play it in your head multiple times. But feeling it, asking the questions, and really identifying it and naming it, just like you said with the feelings wheel, I think is very powerful because when you can name whatever that feeling is, what will come up is just because that particular feeling came up again in a situation doesn't mean that it's the same thing. We sometimes attach meaning to our feelings, and it could be a different situation, a different time, a different you, and we have assigned fear or something to it that we don't have to.
Yep, that's really good.
Any other thing that we could do as we are moving forward and in thinking about being in the present?
Yeah, so we talk a lot about affirmations in the world of mental health, and affirmation is a positive statement that you make, and it's not futuristic. It's, present. A simple affirmation could be, I am loved, I love myself, and I give love. So it's not saying I am going to love myself and I am going to give love. It doesn't say I loved myself and I used to love. It says I love myself and I give love. So creating an affirmation to help yourself stay in the present. Now, if you are more of a picture person, I'm a words and a picture person probably equally. And if you don't want to actually have a verbal affirmation, you can also create a picture too. You can have a picture that you can refer back to that brings you to those wonderful emotions and reminds you of the journey that you're on and allows you to embrace this current season that you're in. That's why dream boards, a lot of people like to do dream board, vision boards
Mhm.
for that very same thing. So I decided to go on ChatGPT. And I did a prompt and I was like, oh, ChatGPT, let me tell you, I am in this new season of life. I am still young, I'm healthy, and I still have a lot of energy, and I'm an empty nester. So, what are some things that I can do to embrace this new season of life with vibrancy, the fervor that I have? And it spit out all these different things, and I'll share a couple. One was actually having a signature color to represent this season of life, and so that could serve sort of like an affirmation. So it could
Yeah.
be, so I'm getting my nails redone next week and I'm going to get that color.
What color is it, babe?
It's magenta
Oh,
or fuchsia,
okay.
kind of like a dark hot pink. And I looked in the closet and I was like, oh, I already have, a few pieces like this. And
Yeah.
so I was buying some new workout clothes and I was looking for that color in particular because then that's a reminder of this season that I'm in and to, embrace it, all that comes with it. So that was one idea. And another idea was to try some new classes like fitness classes. I'm like, oh, I'm ahead of you, ChatGPT. I'm already there. But use AI to help you come up with some affirmations or come up with some imagery that can help you, and that's a very powerful tool as well.
Wow, and so you're saying AI is not the devil, but AI can be used, and I do encourage the use of AI as an assistant. I use it every day. I have multiple different AI tools. We can talk about that and probably in the future. I can geek out on some of these things, but I do agree. And I will also encourage some specific rituals to help us recenter, become parts of where we need to be in a particular moment so that we are not having our mind somewhere else, but that we're here.
Mm.
In the Bible, it talks about be still and know that I am God. And I believe that if we start a practice or a ritual or a discipline, and that means that I'm going to do that on a consistent basis of sitting in stillness. Initially, it may be only for 1 minute, but I want you to start your day to try to do it at least 5 minutes a day of just sitting in silence. And in that moment, you're sitting to receive, you're sitting to allow for an invitation of no noises, no distractions, but just to receive. Some may call it meditation. I call it prayer, prayer, meditation, either way that God is speaking and listen for what he is saying. Because sometimes God speaks in a still small voice to us. And what a way to start your day is to start with understanding, hey, maybe I need to center in this moment. What can I do today and how can I impact those that I am going to run into?
Quick tip on that, because for a lot of people, it's difficult to sit that long, even for 5 minutes, even for a minute or a minute and a half, because their mind will start to wander. So, a quick tip, if you find the moment you find your mind is wandering, is just say to yourself, as you have your eyes closed, what do the back of my eyelids feel like? And then, you start to focus on that, what do my
Right.
eyelids feel like? And it just kind of gets you back there to something that's very simple. And then you can, go back to like being mindless. It's difficult sometimes.
Yes. And other ways, other techniques, people sometimes say, just focus on your breathing. Use what helps you to continue to center yourself, become in that place of silence. And over time, the more we practice anything, we all get better at
Mhm.
what's going on there. And another area I would encourage everyone to do is as you are moving into doing something, doing a task or whatever it is, and sometimes the anxiety before a task, the anxiety before an event, it can really get to us. And to be in the present moment before you go into that particular event, I encourage everyone to say, in this moment, I choose peace. And then move into that task, move into that event. That way that you center yourself back here, back now to where I am. I am going to choose peace. And so as you're moving out and as you're moving into different interactions, talking to people, you can choose that peace. And last but not least, just be grateful. Can we be
Yes,
thankful for everything that is going on in our lives? And there are multitudes of things to be gratified, to have gratitude about every
absolutely.
single day that we can just write down, walk through, and go through in our lives.
Awesome. Very good. This has
Yeah.
been great.
So, as we continue to take a look at what we are doing, what are some of the takeaways that we have that we should really think about as we're moving into these transitions that are inevitable in our lives,
Oh
no
yeah,
matter what?
transitions. We're gonna have transitions. We're oftentimes going to be in multiple transitions simultaneously. So that is going to happen. But what we do have control over is how much energy we put into worry. And it doesn't mean that you just go through things blindly like you do. It's required that you are aware of your situations, but to not get stuck on worry. You
Mhm.
don't have to live in the future. You don't have to live in the past, but try to be anchored in the now, the present as much as you can. And then also remember you don't have to do this alone. Like all the stuff that we're talking about, it's not easy. There's no manual for it. And just when you think you've mastered something, a new situation comes along and it just uproots you. And some of the tools and techniques that worked in one season may not seem like they're being that effective. And so make sure that you're not suffering while you're navigating these transitions. So whether it's a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a pastor, or someone, support groups, reach out and let people help you as you navigate transitions, because that same way that somebody's helping you, you can be that same resource for other people. There's a scripture, I don't know exactly where it is in the Bible, but there's a scripture that says, like, the same way that, God comforts us, we can turn around and be a comfort to other people as well.
And that is so important that we remember that our support networks are really what helps us to get through our good times and our bad times. The support network should be there to cheer you on when you're going through a fantastic transition.
Mhm.
Sometimes they are there to really be there and say, hey, cheer you on. And then other times they're going to be there when you are down and out, and being able to have that. And there may be multiple support groups and networks that you have. And that's something important to have. And as we started off with the scripture, Jesus didn't say worry harder. So he said for us not to that, and then you'll figure it out. He said, don't worry
Mhm.
about tomorrow. Everything you need for peace and for clarity and alignment, it's already in today. So we don't have to worry about tomorrow. We don't have to worry about what's going on in the future. We can stay now in this present. And so as you head towards this week, we're going to have a challenge for everyone. What you are going to do is that what would shift if you fully trusted the present moment to be enough? We want you to ask yourself this question. What would shift if you fully trusted this present moment to be enough? Looks like you have the card deck. I think we're going to end this particular episode, and so you're going to choose from your card deck.
Mhm.
What's this card deck again?
This is
Remind
the
everyone.
Get Unstuck card deck, the Inner Journey Edition. So, this is a good way to center yourself, like you talked about, getting grounded and recentering. So, it's either going to be an affirmation, an ask, or an affirmation or an act, something you can do. And before I do this, I was just going to say, to answer your question, like, what if you did embrace, what was the exact question? What if you embrace the present moment? What could that look like? Or if you, for me, the shift, if I truly trust in the present moment, and again, living this in real time, it has been just ease, peace, and ease.
It ease, you don't have to put as much effort into it. Effort works, but it just is temporary. But when you live in ease, it all comes to you.
Yes, it does. All right. So I believe that we are going to select a card
All right.
that applies to what we talked about today, because
All
that's
right.
usually how it always happens.
All right. It is an act.
It's an act, so it's something to do.
So it says support. Lean with your back against a wall. Notice what this feels like. In life, when it feels like your back is against a wall, consider this: the wall is there supporting you so you can rest, recharge, reframe, and refocus before you move on to the next version of yourself.
So that's talking about being in the present moment.
Yeah. And it talks about support. Isn't that awesome?
So if you want to get a deck of cards for yourself, you can go to my website, which is drsherlondaadkins.com, and you can purchase. These make good gifts too. Christmas will be coming up in a few months. So
Yeah.
these are good gifts to give to people who already have everything, but all of us can use additional support for our mental health and just for our daily balance and grounding to get our mindsets right.
Yeah. And there are definitely powerful tools, and there's been great feedback that you've gotten as people have utilized those cards. You could use one every day, you could use one during the week, and utilize something to focus on that you are able to live this life and also be in that present moment. So as we bring this life-changing episode to a close, I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, our cherished listeners. Your presence, engagement enrich our podcast journey, and I'm truly honored to be a part of your growth and your transformation. To ensure you never miss an episode filled with these great insights and inspirations, go ahead and hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform that you're listening to this on at this moment. If you found value in today's discussion, I kindly ask that you, for a moment, take some time, leave a review, and I'll invite for you to share this episode with your friends and family. So let's create a ripple effect of healing and empowerment together. Your words have the power to shape this content of this podcast. So I thrive on your input. Why don't you come out to randyatkinsjr.com, add your comments there. I read every comment, and your feedback is valuable to help shape what we talk about next. Also, go out to the website and get the book, Produced on Purpose, Experience Life Being the Real You. It's an audiobook format for those who may not want to get the ebook or the paperback. Go out and do that because it will be life-changing for you. Until next time, remember that every step that you take towards being the real you is a step towards unlocking your boundless potential. And stay tuned. Stay inspired, and above all, today be the real you and produce on purpose.